welcome to Crypto Times, and we want to thank you for inviting us to this beautiful city, Prague. And we really loved the overall arrangements and the event itself, and the product is just amazing. It's by far the most secure hardware wallet we have seen. So to begin with the questions, first I want to ask you. You have transitioned from a hands-on cryptography engineer to a CTO role. So how do you ensure the fundamental technical rigor and open source principle of Trezor are maintained when your focus has shifted from cryptography to something that is more strategic to the company?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. So yes, indeed, I've joined the company 7 or 8 years ago, actually 8, and it's been quite a journey. And I've started as a firmware engineer, and then I transitioned more into the managerial way and ended up as a CTO. And of course, the job is very different. There's a lot of different things that you need to deal with. But to your question, I mean, using the fact that we've always been open source, from day one,
right.
we just haven't ever changed that. So there's, it's kind of easy to maintain if it was the default setup. So we're just trying to keep with the original ideals, and we're taking there ever since. So.
That's wonderful. All right, so I'll proceed with the next question. How is Trezor ensuring security as users increasingly connect their hardware wallets with the dApps and smart contracts via Trezor Suite? And what is the single biggest technical challenge that you are facing when you are combining hardware, firmware, and the entire ecosystem for the Trezor Suite?
Yeah. So. I mean, this is a big topic as well, right? Because with the smart contracts and all that, it is a complex topic. We now have blockade implemented in Suite, so we have the transaction simulation, that it's telling you if something else is happening than what you would expect. And we are also working with some other competitors on the clear signing initiative. So we're trying to also bring the clear signing on the device, because that's very important to say that you need to always check what the display is saying.
Yeah, exactly. What we are signing is more important, and not a lot of people understand that.
Exactly. So that's maybe to really stress that a lot, because you always need to check what the display on the device is saying. Right?
And where do you think we are at this point? I mean, how soon you would see you could say that we would have a device that would clearly say that you're sending this to this, you're maybe depositing in Aave, and maybe you're going whatever you're doing. So basically, just clearly say it.
Yeah.
Do you think we could reach there?
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. It also I could distinguish between there are, let's say, two categories. The first category is what we have directly in Trezor Suite, and we basically do have a clear signing there already. So if you're staking with our partners, or if you're doing some trading, you already have a clear signing on the device. So I believe we achieved that. And then you have exactly what you've mentioned, that you're connected to some DApp and you're doing whatever. And there are still there are some parts that we already support, the transfer command or the accept. There are some parts that we already have the clear signing for, but it's definitely not the whole thing. And so that's something that we want to push in the following months, because again, this is really crucial.
So it'll be more of a firmware update and not the hardware update.
No, it's more of the firmware side of things. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, all right. So I have a question. You have pretty much explained it very well throughout your presentation about secure elements, but I still would like to ask you this.
Sure.
For years, Trezor resisted secure elements, and however, you introduced secure elements in Trezor Safe 5. So in this shift with the Trezor's with the Tropic Square's Tropic 01, your team is also utilizing secure elements. So how are you overseeing this transition in Trezor?
Yeah, so I mean, it is quite a long story. So you're right that at the beginning we were reluctant to add the secure elements because we were skeptical that it brings anything. Then we wanted to add one. long story short, we broke it. We found out it's completely useless. And I think that was like a moment where our founders started the Tropic Square, like the dedicated company, to come up with that. And at that time, I think we were maybe a little bit more optimistic, and we thought that in 2 years, we could actually have it in Trezor. But as the saying goes, hardware is hard, and chip design is even harder.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit longer than that. And in the meanwhile, we were looking for if there's secure element, that would withstood our security testing and be NDA free and all that. And we found one for the Safe 3 and Safe 5. So it is some kind of evolution. Like we also as well had the idea that we have this passphrase, which is like a feature on top of, and at one point we thought, let's push that because the users can use that, but then there are like usability problems with that. So it's a long story, and I'm really glad that finally we made it with the Tropic Square, because that was the idea from all along.
Yeah. I wish you congratulations for this. I'm looking for in using it. I've been using Trezor 5, and it's working wonderful. And you mentioned about the passphrase, so I have a quick question for that. So if a user is using passphrase, that's we could call it a 21st word or 25th, depend on the sort. Yeah. So you would have to enter it every time.
Yes,
you
when it's turned on.
Want to use it.
Yeah.
So are you going to make it a little bit more convenient from the user's prospect? Because we have been, if we talk about other hardware wallets, some of them have a feature in which you could just use a different PIN, and then you could just log into the passphrase. So you could have the original with the empty or with not near zero balance, and then the one with the your crypto actually that you want to protect, and that only opens with a different thing. So even if you're physically forced to unlock the device, you still would be able to save your crypto.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting idea. So like with passphrase, we always push that we never want to store it on the device. So it's only in your head, because when it's in your head, you cannot hack something that it's not there, right? So it was the idea like that you never ever can retrieve it, right? So I do understand also like the usability aspect. That being said, I think we want to keep this. We don't have the idea with the PIN is an interesting one. What we have is a wipe code, which you enter is like a PIN code, but when you enter that, it deletes your Trezor, right?
Oh,
so
wow!
It's kind of like an emergency
delete.
Push red button.
Red button, yeah.
Yeah, but with the passphrase, it's a tough one, right? Like I understand where you're going with that. On the other hand, we never wanted to store it actually, so it's never retrievable.
So your approach is much more secure.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, we were pushing the passphrase a lot at some point, but I think we kind of toned it down in the past years, because unfortunately it turns out there's quite a lot of people that simply forget the passphrase, right?
Forget,
it is what it is. They just simply, and I don't blame them. I understand it, because it's another password / and people forget that, right? So.
Yeah, right. And obviously we can't have everybody educated to remember it.
We're trying, but there are limits.
That's right. So anyway, I want to ask you about the data breaches that we have seen. See, the industry has seen data breaches where customer information was exposed and later misused. So how does Trezor handle, store, and dispose any user data that it collects? And what measures do you have in place to minimize the data retention, dispose of data, and ensure users' privacy?
Got it. So it's quite a big of a topic. So it's important to say that we're not doing any KYC process, right? We don't have to do that, and I will never do. So luckily, this does not concern us, so we don't have this data at all, right?
Yes, but the IP address. I was more of.
Yeah, sure, and there are even so. For example, when you're buying something in our eShop, obviously you need to enter an address, a physical one, because we have to ship it somewhere, right? So what we're actually doing on the eShop, for example, that we're storing the data for 90 days. We are storing that because of RMAs, returns, and all this kind of stuff. But after 90 days, we delete that from the system, right? So we anonymize them, so to speak. We are unfortunately legally obliged to keep this data for longer, but we keep those completely separate, encrypted in some very offline, premises with only a number of people that have access to it. So I'm thinking, yeah, so that's something we're really.
It's very secure, and you would probably keep it probably for 90 days, and then it's permanently deleted.
It's in the eShop. It's 90 days, and then we unfortunately have to keep invoices for a longer period of time with some legal requirements. Yeah. But we are keeping that completely separately and encrypted in completely different data center and all that. So we don't ever touch that. It doesn't really make sense why we do that.
If we talk about the IP address, let's say if somebody is using Trezor Suite and it's connected with the internet, and they're making some transactions, so it does provide some sort of tracking to the company.
Yes, so these data we were never storing. We have some logging that we need for improving the services, but that's 24 or 48 hours. After that we delete it, we don't want it, so your IP address is gone after that. And even if you're still worried about that, we also have the Tor network implemented inside Suite, so you can just turn it on, and then your IP address is masked, and then we know nothing about that.
Perfect. Okay, now the next question is, what is the Trezor's timeline for implementing post-quantum cryptographic standards? I guess you guys have already launched it.
It's a good question.
But we prepared it before, we didn't need that.
So I'm glad that it's actually pretty. I'm really glad about it, because I feel that the discussion is finally picking up. I maybe not to scare anyone. I still think the quantum computers are years away. It's the threat is not imminent. But on the other hand, the consequences are so huge that I do think that we should start having these discussions. So I'm kind of glad that also in Bitcoin slowly we're starting to discussing that. And what we did with Safe 7 is that we finally have the bootloader is signed using a post-quantum signature scheme, and the authenticity check is the feature that is proving your device to be genuine, is also signed with a post-quantum signature scheme.
So even we just right now need to be more concerned about the Bitcoin blockchain being
exactly, and that's very important to say. Obviously it doesn't make sense to do a completely quantum safe hardware wallet, because the attackers wouldn't attack the hardware wallet, it would attack the blockchain, as you say. So unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. The projects themselves need to adopt this security, and I'm glad that with the BIP 360 we also did that. The discussion is kind of ramping up. We also did some benchmarks of those algorithms, so it's slowly picking up.
Yeah, but we during our research we found that if someone would be able to crack Bitcoin, they would probably not crack and open the whole blockchain, because then there would be no place to sell them. So they would probably just attack a wallet or something. And then then your role would be pivotal in that sense.
That's true. But on the other hand, it's still, it really depends, right? For example, Satoshi's coins, it's 1 million of Bitcoin. So
try that.
Exactly. If they would just go after that, then what is going to do to the price? It's going to be.
It's going to go to zero.
Hopefully maybe just $1 at least. But it's really tough. But again, to calm everyone down, I don't think the quantum computers are around the corner. I think it will take a decade at least. But I think we should start slowly getting ready.
And I do have a question, but this question has been answered very decently in the presentation, but I still would like to talk about it. So how Trezor is tackling physical attacks like fault injections, side channel attacks, and cold boot attacks, as well as software attacks like hooking and emulations.
Got it. So we talked to some degree about the blockade, and the transaction simulations. With regards to the physical security, that's basically exactly what the secure elements are for. So when your device is turned off, the secure elements, they store some kind of secret that is then encrypting the wallet backup inside the main chip. So, and it has a bunch of those protections, glitching protection, some temperature sensors, lasers detection. So it is really like a palette of number of features. And Tropic Square is trying to do this in the open and auditable, in the transparent way. So I'm pretty excited about that. So it's quite a milestone for us.
That's wonderful. And so this is implemented in Trezor 7, and I think you have secure elements in Trezor 5 too. Is it the same, or is it upgraded in the Trezor 7?
Yeah, so in Safe 7, so in a Safe 3 and Safe 5, we introduced the NDA-free Optica Trust M, that's a secure element from Infineon. And in Safe 7, we actually have also this Infineon's Optica Trust M, but we also have the Tropic 01. So we're using this dual secure element architecture when you're actually mixing those secure elements together, which gives you the ultimate security.
So if somebody, let's say, is using an older model, because I have my Trezor 1, it works perfectly, and I had never need for replacing it. I only did it to try the new thing, but if you don't want to compromise security, what advice would you give to people who has not upgraded to Trezor Safe 5, or who is not planning to, let's say, the Safe 7, who's using the older one,
I mean, it always depends on what you want as a user, right? I mean, if you're the kind of hodler that just wants to stay low, and Model 1 still will work, and it's gonna work for some foreseeable future, because why not, right? So I don't really think there's any fundamental problem with that. That being said, if you want wireless device, Safe 7. If you want USB-C, because Model 1 has the micro USB or whatever it's so,
it's just old,
you never have the right
just get moves a lot. You're gonna have to hold the Trezor.
Yeah. So it's small things, and for many people, they don't want to upgrade, and it's fine. I have nothing against that. But also the design, the features and everything. Also, the Safe series supports more cryptocurrencies than the Model 1. So it's a lot of features. But then again, if you want to stick with your Model 1, there's nothing against that.
Yeah, and it's secure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Model 1 doesn't have a secure element, so technically speaking, it's easier to do some kind of glitching and some physical attack. But that being said, you always need to have the device in your physical possession, right?
Right. So that's again.
It doesn't happen every time, right? So
you don't get kidnapped. That's great. Anyway, so the next question we have for you, Thomas, is many beginners still find the self-custody intimidating. How are you addressing the UX barrier without compromising security?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what we're trying to do. I like this saying that says security at the cost of usability comes at the cost of security. Meaning, we always want to have our product secure, but at the same time, usable and user-friendly for the masses, right? So that's why we've decided to have a bigger bespoke display, to provide the best user experience. And it's this kind of small things that we're always trying to, have it friendly, to have the UX good, so people can use it well. And I hope that it makes the self-custody less scary for the majority then.
That's wonderful. The next question I have is, how do you see the role of hardware wallets evolving as more assets like CBDCs and tokenized securities go on chain, like gold and stuff? It's now coming on chain.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of those real world assets or whatever it's called, because for example, Robinhood, right? They announced that they have some tokenized stocks or whatever.
Right.
And to me, it's always does it make sense to self-custody a stock of Tesla or whatever in case someone else is holding the stocks anyway, right? They're giving you just the token.
Giving you,
So it's kind of, I mean, it can have value. For example, stable coins definitely have a value. It can be an entry place for Bitcoin. So I'm not strictly against that. I'm just always trying to tell everyone the risks that are behind it, because there is some centralized party somewhere in between. So.
Right, so they're basically trusting somebody to...
They still have to trust somebody, exactly. And if they know the risks, then I'm fine with it. I'm just always trying to educate it that there are risks.
Right. We do have a few questions about the protocols, and some personal questions that would be requiring your opinion. about the crypto in general. So I'd like to first of all ask you, which crypto do you believe in most that got you into the cryptography? Or were you in cryptography before, you got into crypto?
Yeah, I'm basically that. So I've actually I was always fascinated by computers from and then security and all that, and I've actually started looking into cryptography already at the university. I've actually studied computer science and cryptography, and then I found out Bitcoin. So I'm really from the technical side of things. Back in the time, crypto meant cryptography, so the word kind of took a different meaning since. So I was fascinated by Bitcoin from the moment that I knew it. So
and at this point of time, if I may ask you, what crypto do you personally hold or invest in?
I'm kind of the dinosaurs of the crypto because I'm still full on Bitcoin. I think it goes in waves. So I found out Bitcoin, I got excited, then Ethereum came, so I was like, okay, we're gonna have this decentralized computer. Then I was kind of, no, let's get back to Bitcoin. Then there was the other wave of Solanas and everything. So like back in the days I did some trading and whatever, but I always circled back to Bitcoin. So I'm still the most bullish on Bitcoin, to be honest.
That's the main thing people need to learn. People don't often do that, and they lost their money.
I mean, I don't want to, like, we're trying to some degree to be coin agnostic. I don't want to tell people what they should buy and shouldn't.
Yeah, right.
But from my experience, I always, burnt myself on so many weird crypto projects years back that like it's enough for me.
That's wonderful. Anyway, so what technical milestone over the past 11 years of Trezor are you most proud of? And what do you think is still missing in the hardware wallet technology right now?
And so probably no surprises that I'm most proud about this because this device is really, because I've been a CTO for 4 years. If I'm saying that right, or 3 or 4, and finally this was really something that I had the most
that you're proud of.
Exactly.
And you had your influence on this.
Exactly, it's really like the new C-level kind of decisions. So I'm really proud about that. And then there's a lot of things along the way, really. Like we started the industry, and I think at the beginning we were way more geeky, and we're now suddenly try to enter also to be friendly to the people, to the users, and have it in a very pleasant way, to really have
very convenient way.
Convenient way, exactly. Yeah. So I'm not sure if I can pick one thing, but it's definitely this device. The Tropic Square chip is a huge, milestone for the whole Satoshi Labs holding. So it's that, I would say.
So do you had any influence in creating the chip itself?
So not directly, because Tropic Square is still like a dedicated company, so they basically doing it on their own. But of course, we try to provide help, and had a lot of discussion. Also, the pin verification engine, the Make and Destroy, was brought up from one of our cryptographers. So there is a lot of discussions and collaboration. But of course, I have a lot of duties in Trezor, so I was not that deep involved. But yeah, we had a lot of talks on that, of course.
That's great. And can you talk about the technical performance of the Trezor suite and your backend system during peak volatility? I would like to know what happens when there is sudden volatility, when the market crashes, or there is sudden going up and people are just moving their crypto a lot. So does that get any impact on you guys' side from the back end?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing that. I think we're somewhat ready. I hope so, for from the past cycles. What we see is that when the price goes up or actually declines, it goes both ways, that we see that people are way more interested in the trading section, like buy, sell, swap. Everything is available in Trezor Suite, so we can see that there's more users in that, so that's definitely noticeable. And then what we also see, that when the price goes crazy and goes a lot up, there are these people that haven't used the device in 2 years or 3 years, and they suddenly take it out of the drawer and they try to update and all that. So that sometimes can be a challenge, because if you have your Model 1 and you have a firmware that is 4 years old,
Yeah,
you know,
and
that
you're gonna have to update it.
and we have to get it updated, and we're trying, of course, support that. You know, we still want to have a good experience, but it's somewhat hard because we want to deprecate the old technical debt, you know, so it's a challenge, but yeah. We're trying.
And you said that you would know if somebody has not used it for 2 years, 3 years. How do you exactly get that info?
Yeah, so basically the firmware is saying the firmware version, so we basically know which one it is exactly.
You guys could know.
Yeah, and based on that, we provide the correct update. And I mean, it's a tough one that then some firmware maybe is not compatible with the newest one, so you have to have some intermediary. It really depends, but we're trying to support 2 years, like really the flawless, and then of course also longer, but then, you know, it's a little bit more difficult. But 2 years old firmware is completely fine. It doesn't really hurt anything, but we're of course trying to provide new features and motivate people.
That's great. And I have just one last question for you, and that is more of, you know, we could say from the regulatory side, that you know, a lot of government scrutinize you know, the seized crypto assets. So did you guys as a Trezor get any pressure to unlock some device from the government and then maybe have to comply and do something about it?
No, luckily we never had to do that. I mean, sometimes it happened that, you know, we get contacted by the police and they want some information, but we don't have them, right? So we don't really have anything to share. So we just say, hey, this is a device, we cannot access it because the people is theirs. We cannot remotely anyhow, you know, open it or whatever.
But do they pressurize you that being, you know, a technical person who created something, maybe, you know?
We never got pressured into something that we wouldn't like to do. So no, I think most of the times it was like on an informational basis because they wanted just, you know, to understand what is it more. But other than that, we got never, like, knock on the wood, but we got never pressured to anything that we would like to do.
Right. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Tomáš, for such you know, attending this interview and providing all the answers and, you know, clarity to our audience. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Tomáš. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.